everybody, welcome back for another Sewcialites 3 quilt block. We are on block number 15 today. Today's block is the split star block designed by Lisa Alexander. I'm sewing both the 9-inch and the 6-inch blocks. The 9-inch blocks I'm sewing with the Little Sweetheart and Cloud 9 collections by Adita Sitar at Laundry Basket Quilts, and the 6-inch blocks I'm sewing with Strawberry Lemonade by Sherri and Chelsi. I have both my blocks prepped and ready to sew. I thought we'd have a little fun today. I was going to flip a coin on camera, then I realized I'd probably go like this and flip the camera and it would probably fall and break or something like that. There's a website called Just Flip a Coin. You can actually flip a virtual coin. So we'll say heads, also the pink and red one, and tails, also the colorful one. Let's go ahead and you hit flip the coin and it just kind of flips it. Tails! So today we're going to sew the 6-inch block with Strawberry Lemonade on camera. One thing I really like about the way this block is constructed, you can see right here it talks about trimming the half square triangle units. These are going to be made oversized. We're going to have the opportunity to trim these down, so the block should come together very nicely. As it's shown in the pattern, it's made red, white, and blue. So you've got your white star block, red, and blue. I went ahead and picked this multicolor print for the white, pink on one side, and green on the other. Let's go ahead and head over to the featherweight and we're going to start putting together our block. Looking at our instructions, we can combine some common steps. B and D and B and G are the same. We're going to be making our flying geese units. If you're drawing lines for both of these, you would draw a line on the wrong side of the fabric B squares. I'm going to go ahead and use my diagonal seam tape. So we need our B's and D's and B's and G's. Let's get everything organized and ready to sew. I've got my D, my G, and my B's. Each one of these is going to need 2 fabric B's. I'm just going to set them right next to it. And then this one needs 2, and this one needs 2. If you're drawing lines, you'll draw a line corner to corner on the back. Pick a corner. You can start on this corner, you can start on this corner, it doesn't matter. You can only do one at a time though, because what happens is when you go corner to corner, if you put the second one on top, you'll see that they overlap. So you can only do one side at a time. Let's lay down these. When you're placing these down, if you want, you can pin. So you would make sure it's nice and straight, and then you'll be sewing corner to corner. You can pin on either side, or just put one pin down to hold it in place while you take it over to your machine. I'm going to keep this right next to me, so I won't pin. I'll just reline up before I sew. We're at the featherweight. I'll realign each piece, make sure everything's lined up really nice, and then I'll sew corner to corner. I'm using the diagonal seam tape. I've shown that before, so I'll be lining up on the red line, corner to corner. Got all of these sewn. I clipped them apart. You want to flip it, look at them, make sure they're, as straight as can be, straight within your tolerance level. I can see that's a little bit crooked, but once I press it, it's going to look better. I'm okay with that. I'll trim a 1/4 inch away and press. I'll do that with all my pieces, and then we'll come back and do the next 4 corners. These all came out good. I'm ready to do the next corner, and I decided that at the same time I would work on the other one. I'm just doing this one off camera. I sewed all 4, but I ran out of bobbin thread halfway through the 3rd one, so I'm going to go back and re-sew those. If you've never seen a bobbin for a featherweight, this is what it looks like. See how skinny it is? And here's the bobbin case. So they do tend to run out a little bit faster because they're so skinny. Once you've got these sewn, trimmed, and pressed, you can check your measurements right here. These are the measurements for the 3-inch block, the 6-inch block, and the 9-inch block. I measured these. They came out pretty close, a little bit crooked, but that's okay. The next thing we want to do is grab our fabric C's and F. I've got a fabric C, and there's just one of each, so one fabric C, one fabric F. Go ahead and put them right sides together. It says you can draw a line on the back of fabric C. You would draw a line corner to corner, but we're going to sew a 1/4 inch over from that center line. I've done that before for one of the blocks, and if I'm drawing lines, I actually like to use two colors. When I do that, I'll draw the center line in one color, and then I'll go over 1/4 inch and draw it in another color and do that on both sides. That way I don't accidentally sew on the wrong line. Since I'm using the diagonal seam tape, I have a center line and a line that's 1/4 inch away and a line that's 1/4 inch away. I don't have to draw a line. I can just line up on the black line and go ahead and sew on either side. I sewed my 2 lines. You can see I've got a little bit of a tension issue going on. That happens sometimes with the older machines. I fussed with it for a bit. I'm having trouble figuring it out, so we're going to finish this block on a different machine. I went ahead and re-stitched that on my Juki. I'll be doing the rest of the sewing today on the Juki. We're going to cut corner to corner, so not on our stitch lines. And then I'm actually going to press it first, and then we'll measure and trim. The trim measurements are right here. So you've got your 3, 6, and 9 inch blocks. I'm sewing the 6 inch block on camera today. My little square needs to be 2 by 2. I'm going to angle this way because on my ruler I have a nice angled line right there and line that up. I'm well over 2 inches, which is great. I'm almost 2 1/4. So what I can do is trim 2 sides. Keep that diagonal line right there on your seam. Straighten these 2 sides out, and then you can flip it and trim on the other side. And then it'll be perfectly square, like that. And this is the Kimberly Cuts rotating mat. I have the small one, the 5 1/2 inch one. And then we'll go ahead and line up that line again. And now I want to line up my 2 inch. So 2 inch, 2 inch. And then lining up our diagonal line, nice and straight, diagonal line. Cut that. And my ruler has a chip in it at the corner. It's probably time for a new ruler. Cut that, it's got a little chip right there. Looks good. We need to trim our other piece. We're ready to lay out our block. Having the picture next to you is very helpful. How we arrange our colors is key to making this look like the picture. We're going to start with our center square. This is the color I picked for the center rather than solid white. I went with one of the colorful prints. And then you've got your flying geese. I have a pink here, so I want the next pink over here. You've got 2 colors, so you want one of your colors on the top and on the left, and then the other color on the bottom and on the right. And then whichever color this is, for me it's green, you want that solid color right there. And whatever this color is, for me it's pink, solid pink there. Then you've got your 1/2 and 1/2 squares. This color here is going to match this color and point down. We're creating that line through the center. So if you draw an imaginary line down the center of your block like this, everything on that side is one color, for me it's green, and everything on this side is another color, and for me it's pink. We're all ready to sew our block. Over at the Juki now, I've got my 1/4 inch guide foot on. I'm just going to go top to bottom. I don't like to pin, which you've probably figured out by now. I'll go ahead and sew one side and then the other side. Just a reminder, when you're sewing these together, if you sew with this facing up, you can watch for that intersection where your threads are crossing and making sure you sew right across that X so you don't lose your point. So line it up like that and then aim to sew straight and right across that X. Let's look at this piece and see how I did. Good. There's my point right there. Now we can sew the other side. Here's my top, and then I've got my solid square. I'm just going to go top down with these pieces, and then we'll talk about pressing and assembling. I've got all my little pieces. Let's make sure we lay it out correctly. These we're going to press out, away from the flying geese. There's the green, and I will take that to my iron and give that a good press. And then we've got the other one that goes on top, that for me is the pink. So we'll press that away from the flying geese. And let's make sure I put this together correctly, shall we? There we go. That looks better. And then these we're going to press in toward that center square. And you can see the fabric just wants to go that way in both cases. These are very easy to figure out which way to press. Now be careful of your colors and make sure you've got all your colors matching. So we'll do the diagonal line trick again. I have something backwards. Do you see that? Green, pink, pink, green. I probably have these backwards. That. Like that. That's better. So when I draw that diagonal line down the center of my block, this side is all green, this side is all pink. You can go ahead and press that. I took that to the iron and gave it a good press. So our seams are going to nest, and if you sew with this side up, you can watch for that X again and make sure you sew right across the center and you don't lose your point. I'm going to go ahead and pin both sides and then sew one side and then the other side. Those were the last two seams. I'll press that. We'll take it over the table, see how it turned out. I'm also going to finish my 9-inch block, which is right over there. This one is all done. I managed to get all the right colors in the right places. Let's measure it. I've got my 6.5-inch square ruler. I'm betting it's going to be about 6 1/4. I've got the ruler down. It's not quite 6.5, but it's larger than 6 1/4. I'm about a 1/16 of an inch short. It's fine. I don't need to do any trimming unless I want to trim away the little fuzzy threads. Looks good. Let's look at the 9-inch block. Here's the 9-inch block. This one did come out about a 1/4 inch short on either side. I've already done all the trimming. Looks good though. We've got the pink on one side and the red on the other. That was block number 15 for Sewcialites 3, the split star block. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below for me. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. I really try to do my best to get these up by Saturday. It's been another busy week. Thank you for your patience. I hope to see you back next week with block number 16. See you next time.